Hello my dear students, welcome to your geography class. Today we shall be continuing with the chapter climate, and the two topics today to be discussed is the Indian monsoon region and different seasons of India. So first of all, let's talk about Indian monsoon region. In this, what we get to understand is that how the rainfall system or the rain bearing system in India is been understood in different phases. The monsoon region is subdivided into four different phases. The first phase as the advancing monsoon. The second, you have the rain bearing system or the rainfall distribution. Third, you have the break in the monsoon. And the last one that we have is retreating monsoon. So let's first talk about advancing monsoon. What is the advancing monsoon exactly mean? In the first case of the monsoonal region, what we find is that the rainfall that occurs in India is basically understood because of the unequal heating of land and water. India being surrounded by water bodies on its own side, it attracts the moisture-laden wind during the summer season as low pressure prevails over the land masses. So this unequal heating of land and water results in the monsoon to occur in India. But yet there is an additional force to it, and that is of the southeast trade winds that crosses the equator during summer season, and also because of the shifting of the pressure bands towards the north. So this attraction of wind results in the enormous amount of moisture-laden air masses to be driven towards Indian land masses, hence causing huge amount of rainfall throughout the country. Now this rainfall, as it begins to what is we also call as the burst in the monsoon, it usually occurs from the 1st of June, and Kerala is the first state to receive it, as the pressure belt is already shifted towards the north, so that starts attracting a lot of wind towards the land masses. One. The second factor is because of the low pressure that prevails over the land masses and high pressure over the water bodies. So this is how the wind or the southwest monsoon wind is driven from the water bodies towards the land. So if you consider this here as the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, so you have the southwest monsoon blowing from the water bodies towards the land masses, the whole region, because the low pressure prevails over the Indian land masses. And this is how the monsoon begins in India. The 1st of June is where the region of Kerala receives the rainfall in the early phase, but as time passes by, that is by mid-June, the entire part of the country receives the rainfall. Now this rainfall distribution, as we see, the monsoon or the monsoon wind is divided into two branches. One is from the Bay of Bengal, the other is from the Arabian Sea. The Bay of Bengal branch happens to cross over and cover the most part of India, while the Bay of Bengal branch, the Arabian Sea branch happens to cover the larger part of India, while the Bay of Bengal branch it mostly focuses on the eastern part of India. Now, in change, the Bay of Bengal branch is mostly focused on the eastern part of India and also along the Himalayan belt. And then the variability or the amount of distribution of this rainfall only changes with distance. In both the cases, the Arabian Sea branch and the Bay of Bengal branch, as we move towards the inner part of the country, the rainfall amount decreases with the distance will increase. So this is how the distribution of rainfall takes place in India. The third case is the breaking of monsoon. Now, during the monsoonal period, that is in the months of June, July, August and September, the four rainfall season in India, during this time, we receive continuous rainfall, a prolonged rainfall for 10-15 days or even more than that, sometimes the whole month it rains. But during this 4 months of time, there is a continuous gap of rainfall for almost a week or 10 days. And this dry spell of a week or 10 days is known as break in the monsoon. Now with the months passing by from June to September, again the shifting of the pressure belts towards the south further results in returning of this monsoonal winds from land towards the water bodies. And this returning of the monsoonal winds, it retreats back as it happens. Here this is the June, the month of June, and then July, August, September, the entire country is covered. So as again it comes from August and beyond, in September and beyond, the wind starts retreating back and then it completely moves to the south. So this wind or the wind that retreats back is what we call the time period of retreating monsoon. This usually occurs in the month of October and November in India, where we get to see the land masses now is slowly taken over by the high pressure condition due to lowering of the temperature, and on the water bodies the temperature seems to be slightly higher and results in low pressure to be formed, hence causing the wind now instead of blowing towards the land to be blowing towards the water bodies. So this is the retreating monsoon period, and this is how in 4 divisions the monsoonal regime has been divided. Now, based on all these factors and also the various factors of climatic variations that we discussed in the earlier class, on that basis, we will try to discuss the 4 different seasons that is experienced in India. Based on all the factors that moderates the climatic pattern in India, this season is mostly characterized into 4 divisions: the winter season, the summer season, rainy season, and we call it retreating monsoon season. The winter season is experienced between the month of November and March. Mid-March, you can say. Then summer begins from mid-March to June, May. Then you have from June to September is your rainy season, and then October and November is what we consider to be the retreating monsoon season. The winter season in India, which has been experienced in the month of mid-November to mid-March, is mostly characterized by low temperature conditions. Low temperature, as we can find, with almost 21 degrees centigrade on an average in the entire country. The northern part of the country during winter season remains more cold, with low temperature being characterized as compared to the southern part. In fact, to the southern part of India, you can say there is hardly seasonal changes being witnessed. So northern part of India, where the temperature is on an average of 21 degrees centigrade, in southern part of India the temperature happens to be over 22 degrees centigrade, with a moderating effect of the water bodies that lies near. And further south as we go or head towards Kerala and Tamil Nadu, there the temperature seems to be again higher, as because they are in a closer proximity to water. The first case. The second case is also because it's located very close to equator. During the winter season, the wind blows from land to sea, as because the pressure condition we see it's different. The land has high pressure while the water bodies has low pressure. So in this case, the wind mostly blows from the land masses towards the water bodies. So this results in dry wind to blow during the winter season. Except in two cases, in South India around the Coromandel coast, where the part of northeast monsoon that blows during the winter season happens to cross over the part of Bay of Bengal, and that is where it carries some amount of moisture and results in the rainfall in the regions of Coromandel coast. Also, in the northwestern part of India during the winter season, they experience a cyclonic rainfall to what is we call western disturbance, which usually occurs in the Mediterranean region in the west. Or else, if we see in larger picture, the winter season in India is mostly characterized by dry spells. The rainfall that is received is quite beneficial. In South India, it's mostly for rice that has been grown in Tamil Nadu areas, and in northern part of India, the western disturbance that brings rainfall results in the growth, in fact, a good production of the rabi crops like wheat. Coming to summer season in India, which has been experienced in the month of March and May, here the temperature rises very high. Likewise, all those places that are located very close to the water bodies, they remain to be quite moderate in temperature condition. But places that are far away from the water bodies has continental condition, and hence the temperature there is very high. The temperature in northern part of India during summer season sometimes even rises over 45 degrees centigrade because of its continentality. And this is in this time of the year where the low pressure formation is built because of the overheating of the land masses. And hence, there are few of the local winds that originates in the summer season, and those are known as Lu in the northern part of India, mostly in UP, Punjab, Delhi, Haryana. These places they experience the local winds blowing here, and it's known as Lu. While in the northeastern part, there is a wind called Kal Baisakhi, a local wind that blows in the states of mostly West Bengal and Assam. And it's quite a destructive wind and also brings rainfall to what is we call pre-monsoonal rainfall. The wind is destructive, but at the same time, the rainfall that it brings is quite beneficial for the early growths of rice and jute in the states of West Bengal and Assam. While in South India during the summer season, in the regions of Kerala, the pre-monsoonal wind that occurs is mostly known as, or is commonly known as mango shower. It is so called mango shower because the rain that occurs as a pre-monsoonal rain caused because of local disturbances usually helps in the growth of mangoes, early ripening of mangoes. And along with that, also it helps in the good production of coffee beans. So this is where summer season in India is experienced in March and May. Coming to the rainy season in India, June and September is the 4 months that experiences rainy season. The rain-making system in India is quite complex because it's not just one branch of the monsoonal wind that brings rainfall, and it's not every place that experiences the same amount of rainfall. Like discussed earlier, the monsoonal wind has two branches, one blowing over the Arabian Sea, the other blowing over the Bay of Bengal. The Bay of Bengal branch, let's first discuss, is again further subdivided into two parts. One that enters the Garo-Khassia Jayanti hills, where it is obstructed while entering through the funnel shape of the valleys in the Garo-Khassia Jayanti hills. It causes heavy downpour. The rainfall that occurs in this region is almost over 1100 centimeters annually, specifically the place called Monsoon in Cherrapunji, which is considered to be the wettest place on earth, experiences an annual rainfall of over 1200 centimeters. And this is mostly because of the Bay of Bengal branch, one of it that enters the funnel-shaped valleys in the Garo-Khassia hills. The next part of the Bay of Bengal again starts moving towards the west from east along the foothills of the Himalayas and it causes rainfall likewise. And as it enters the Bay of Bengal here, the regions that are located very close to the water bodies experiences very good amount of rainfall. While this very branch of Bay of Bengal, as it enters towards the western part of India, the rainfall decreases in its amount. There is a variability in the distributions of rainfall. Here, the rainfall is less, while here, very close to water bodies, the rainfall is maximum. This is because the moisture-bearing wind, it keeps on shedding its moisture with the distance it travels, and by the time it reaches farther west of India, the rainfall becomes very less. Now coming to the Arabian Sea branch, the first branch of the Arabian Sea enters the state of Kerala in the Western Ghat region. And this is where the Western Ghats obstructs the moisture-bearing wind of the southwest monsoon branch. In fact, the Arabian Sea branch of the southwest monsoon, and thus causes heavy rainfall on the western part of Western Ghat. So this is where Mumbai and Kerala, the Mumbai region receives maximum amount of rainfall. The second branch of Arabian Sea enters the region of Narmada Tapi, the valley region of Narmada Tapi, and enters to the far east in India, as because it from thereafter remains uninterrupted, because there is no such large land masses to obstruct the wind that blows from or that blows through the Narmada Tapi valley as the second branch of the Arabian Sea. As the advancing of monsoon takes place with a time period from June to September, the third branch of Arabian Sea enters the western India almost running parallel to Aravalli Range. While running parallel to Aravalli Range, it only sheds a little amount of rainfall in the eastern part of Aravallis, while the western part of Aravallis remains completely dry without any such rainfall. Hence, we get to see the western part of Rajasthan is completely a desert, a sandy desert to what is we call Thar. And in addition to this, if we see the western part of Rajasthan, the reason why it is desert is because you see the rainfall is less. Why is the rainfall less? It's because the Arabian Sea branch runs parallel to the Aravallis and there is no obstruction, hence there is no rainfall caused. Also, the Bay of Bengal branch that happens to come from Bay of Bengal along the foothills of the Himalayas. See, the distance that it has to travel there is quite far away. So by the time it reaches to this distance, the rainfall is already less. So this is the reason why we get to see the eastern part of India and the far west in India, southwestern in India experiences more amount of rainfall. But western part of India, this is very less amount of rainfall. This is the distribution system of rainfall that occurs in the rainy season from the months of June to September. After June and September, when the rainfall is almost over, from September onwards, there is a southward shift in the sun. The apparent movement of the sun takes place towards the sun gradually. It enters the southern part of the globe. So in this case, the low pressure that is formed over the land masses is now replaced by high pressure condition because the skies are clear and it's all open. So one thing what we get to see in the retreating monsoon is that the skies are quite clear, characterized with high temperature. High temperature is obviously you have high humidity level because of higher rate of evaporation. So during the retreating monsoon season, the wind starts returning back towards the water bodies and hence remains moreover dry. But at this very time, India experiences a tropical cyclone that usually originates in the waters of the Bay of Bengal and starts moving towards the west. So it's during the retreating monsoon season, that is during October and November, because of high temperature condition, the water gets overheated and and results in the formation of tropical cyclone on the waters of Bay of Bengal, which gradually starts moving towards the west, that is towards the Indian landmass. So as it starts moving towards the west, this tropical cyclone hits the eastern borders of India, causing lots of destructions and properties of life, properties as well as life. So this is one implication. In fact, we can say this is one calamity that usually occurs in India during the retreating monsoon season, that is between the time period of October and November. So these are the four different seasons in India that has been experienced at different times of the year. And if you get to this, understand this very carefully, all of the four seasons is highly been affected by the monsoonal wind. We have the two extreme conditions to experience, one during the winter season and the other is during the summer season. You get to see this high rising temperature in the north where it goes even as high as 45 degrees centigrade. This temperature is only brought down with the rainfall that is experienced in India between the month of June and September. So the only relief to this high rising temperature in the northern part of India is where rainfall brings. While the southern part of India does not experience a huge seasonal variation, as because being located very close to the equator and also because they are in a closer proximity to water bodies. So this is all about for today. Thank you, guys.